So to take that as a yes. Right, so my name is Ciara Joyce. I am one of the archivists with MU Library, where I have responsibility for the archival collections in the JP2 library, along with my colleague Roisin Berry. And today I am going to talk about some of the fascinating archival collections that are now available on the new digital library, how we select the material, some of the work taken by the team in special collections and archives in advance of digitization, and where we hope to go next. So, started. So this is the digital library. It was created and launched just this week by my colleagues in digital publishing and data services. It contains a mixture of digitized material from special collections and archives rare book collection, the archives of private origin that are currently in the care of MU Library, and the archives of the Irish College Salamanca in the care of St. Patrick's College, Maynooth. I'm going to focus on the MU archival collections, which are the John Sadler Archive, the Kerry Letters, the Bloomfield Maps, the Kilcock Leases, and the Porg and Whalon Photographic Collection. So, in the early days of development of the digital library, special collections and archives were asked to provide a collection as a test case for ingestion into the digital library. Choosing a collection wasn't easy. Where do you begin when there's so much material to choose from and so much variety of material? There was, however, plenty to consider when selecting a collection. There are several problems inherent in selecting any collection for digitization. For a test case, the collection needs to be relatively small, not just in extent, but in the size of documents for scanning purposes. There was no point in us providing our colleagues with a collection that would be prohibitive because of its physical size. So the collection also needs to be in good condition or need minimal intervention from conservation to withstand the process of being digitized without causing any damage. And our conservation department signed off on this collection and all the collections that we digitized. The collection needs to be out of copyright, or we would need to get permission to reproduce it. So it would have to be one of our older collections. And the collection needed to be listed, and by listed I mean catalogued with the appropriate metadata. Our collections are being catalogued on a daily basis, but it's a slow process, and we have a very active collecting policy, so there is always listening to be done. So this is our cataloguing database for our archival collections. It's called CAM. It's a specialist software developed for archivists, and all our collections are listed on it. A record is created for every document or every series of documents in our collections, and the system gives it a unique reference number, which is used for identification and retrieval. And we also record other data. Obviously, we do a description or a summary of the content in a document. We record the date, the size, and other relevant data. So when sending information to the digital library, the database does most of the heavy lifting for us. So it turns the records that we create with all the appropriate metadata from what you see here on the screen into this. So CAM, using a template, CAM turns our records into what's called encoded archival description, which is an XML standard for encoded archival founding aids, developed and maintained by the Society of American Archivists and the Library of Congress. So the fields in each record are converted to EAD, which my colleagues then in DPDS use to populate the digital library with the appropriate metadata. So this is the first collection that we uploaded to the digital library. This was the test case, and we chose it both for the practical reasons. It ticked all the boxes that I mentioned earlier, and because the content was interesting and historically significant. This is John Sadler. He is, I suppose, relatively unknown today, apart from among people who have an interest in 19th century history. But in the mid-19th century, he made headline news in Ireland and the UK as a corrupt politician, a swindler, and a downright scoundrel. So who was John Sadler? A little bit by John Sadler. This is one of his letters here in the background. He was born in 1813 in Tipperary, the fourth son of a Protestant farmer. He was raised a Catholic, and after attending Clongowes Wood College, he became a solicitor. In 1837, Sadler practiced law in Dublin and Carlow with his brother William. Banking was part of the family business. Both his parents came from banking families, and Sadler was a founding member of the Tipperary Joint Stock Bank established in 1839. The bank gradually expanded to include branches in the counties Tipperary, Carlow, Kilkenny, and Kildare. In 1846, Sadler moved to London to launch a business career. A generous overdraft from the Tipperary Bank, now managed by his brother James, helped him become established. He became an investor and legal advisor with links to the developing railway companies in both Britain and Europe, eventually becoming a successful parliamentary agent for Irish railways. With this success, he expanded his investments to include land speculation. He became the chairman of the London and County Joint Stock Bank, which managed 20,000 accounts, and rose to the position of chairman of the Royal Swedish Railway Company. In 1847, Sadler's career took another turn with his decision to enter politics. He presented himself as a Liberal candidate and successfully contested the seat for the borough of Carlow. Sadler was well liked, and as a Catholic landowner, represented the political reform desired by the electorate. He was elected on his stance regarding land reform, tenants' rights, and the taxation of absentee landlords. Access to unlimited funds from the Tipperary Bank may have also contributed to his success. Irish MPs earned themselves the nickname the Papal Brigade from their supporters, and the less complimentary name the Pope's Brass Band from their opponents, due largely to their opposition to the Ecclesiastical Titles Act of 1851. Although the Liberal Party put the Act forward, the majority of Irish Liberal MPs voted against it. Sadler and his companions pledged to remain in independent opposition for as long as the Act remained on the statute books. However, Sadler's loyalty to the cause was called into question when in 1853 he accepted the position of Junior Lord of the Treasury in Lord Aberdeen's coalition government. The Irish Tenants League declared Sadler a traitor, and he accused them of campaigning against him. Subsequently, he was defeated in the Carlow by-election of 1851. In 1854, Sadler was forced to resign from his Treasury position after he was found guilty of involvement in a plot to arrest Edward Dowling, a Carlow man and customer of the Tipperary Bank, due to his refusal to vote for Sadler. Public confidence in him was badly shaken, and people began to doubt his honesty. However, Sadler's political problems were about to pale in significance when details of his financial dealings became known. In 1856, it became apparent that Sadler had drained the funds of the Tipperary Bank with an overdraft of £288,000 sanctioned by his brother. He lost the money through disastrous speculation, resorting to forging shares to cover his trail. Sadler's total debt was at least £1.5 million when the extent of his double dealings became known. He bankrupted the Royal Swedish Railway Company, forged land deeds and spent funds entrusted to him by his clients, including rents and marriage settlement portions. Rather than face scandal and ruin, Sadler took his own life by drinking poison. His body was found on Hampstead Heath on February the 17th, 1856. The Sadler and Scully families were financially and politically ruined. His brother James Sadler fled to Geneva, where he was murdered in 1881. The collapse of the Tipperary Joint Stock Bank also led to the ruin of many of its small depositors whose life savings were wiped out. And sadly, these people were mostly small and medium-sized farmers who had only just survived the famine, and their savings were gone. So a little bit about the collection that we have here in Maynooth. The archives consists of 34 letters by John Sadler, written between November 1852 and May 1854 to his colleague Michael Dunn, who was an MP for Stradbally in County Laois. The letters concern both national and local politics, including Sadler's appointment to the junior ministry and the Tenants League's efforts to see him defeated in the election, as well as local matters such as the Barrow River drainage. Documents of note include Sadler's defence of his decision to take office, in which he writes that he took the position from the best motives and that he is not sold. Also of interest are letters containing comments on Gladstone's famous budget of 1853 and letters containing criticism of the press and the Tenants League for what he sees as their attempts to discredit him. Pictured here is one of my favourite letters in the collection, when Sadler's world is closing in around him. He complains firstly that the Tenants' League are hard at work to secure my defeat, and then has the gall or the complete self-delusion to write, a resolution of confidence in my political consistency and integrity would be of great service just now. Considering Sadler was so deep in double dealings at the time, this sentence is shameful. So after Sadler, we next move to a very similar and very small collection, merely called the Kerry Letters, as each of the 3 letters in the collection is written from the county. Each is from a visitor to Kerry in the mid-19th century and concerns life in the county. It covers the period 1818 to 1832. These letters are by individuals unknown and unconnected to each other, apart from the fact that they are all offer their observations and opinions on the county of Kerry. It includes this letter pictured here from George Dunlap, Killarney, to his father, George Dunlap Sr. in Scotland. He writes that he is not unhappy to be moved to Kerry as he disliked Limerick. He describes the beauty of the area, writing of the lakes that, as much as I expected to be gratified by the sight of them, they greatly exceed my expectation. He also writes that Kerry is a very hotbed of the Catholics and the nation place of the great O'Connell, whose brother I dined with yesterday. Other comments include that he is staying next door to a Kerry nunnery, the largest in Ireland, grated and walled in like a prison. So after the Kerry letters, we move to something completely different and a lot more adventurous from a digitization point of view, to the Bloomfield maps. So this collection consists of 2 large map books of the estate of Lord Baron Bloomfield in County Offaly and County Tipperary, surveyed between 1836 and 1840. It includes colour maps showing land divisions, land use, and features such as gardens, houses, and castles, as well as bogs and forests. So this is the man himself. This is Lieutenant General Benjamin Bloomfield, 1st Baron Bloomfield. He was born in 1762 in Newport in County Tipperary. The family were descendants of the Bloomfield family, originally settled in Erscourt in County Galway. Bloomfield was educated at the Royal Military Academy at Woolwich in England. He entered the army and gained the rank of Lieutenant General. He served in Newfoundland and in Spain, as well as in Ireland during the 1798 rebellion. Having befriended the Prince Regent, he was appointed as gentleman in waiting in 1808, and over time was appointed to a number of other offices and titles, including aide-de-camp to the King and as Keeper of the Privy Purse and Private Secretary to the Regent. Bloomfield was also elected as a Member of Parliament for Plymouth and was appointed to the Privy Council in 1817. His popularity at court went into decline, however, partially due to his efforts to control the prince's spending as Keeper of the Privy Purse. He was dismissed from office, but compensated with the granting of an Irish peerage, and was created 1st Baron Bloomfield of Oakhampton and Redwood, County Tipperary, on the 14th of May, 1825. On the death of his brother-in-law, Thomas Pepper, Bloomfield inherited Pepper's estate in counties Tipperary and Offaly as well, including Lawton and Lawton House. He died there in 1846 at the age of 84 and is buried at Lawton. So this is an example of one of the beautiful colour maps that are in the map book there, that is now in the digital library. It shows Bloomfield's estate at Lawton. The map also includes lovely details, such as the ones you can see here, of the house and offices, as well as the wall garden and older features that you can see down the bottom left-hand corner there, such as the ruins of an old castle. The maps also include natural features beautifully coloured by hand, such as this map here, where you see they've added quite a lot of forestry, and this map here showing the River Shannon. So each map book includes decorative cartouches with map titles, fleur-de-lis, and decorative birds such as these here, particularly like the last one here, which has included some farming symbols. So most importantly, from a research point of view, each map book also includes index pages and map reference sheets showing the tenants' names and the size and type of their holdings on the estate. So there's a reference sheet like this one pictured here for each of the maps. So another collection that's also been added are the Kilcock leases. So among the archival collections and special collections and archives are quite a lot of legal documents, a number of which are of local interest. The Kilcock leases are a collection of just 2 leases granted to a John Colgan of Kilcock in 1812 from local landowner Robert Fine. So this document pictured here is quite a typical example of an 18th century lease. Unlike earlier examples, part of the document is pre-printed and the details, such as the parties and terms and conditions, are added by hand as needed. This particular indenture also includes a small map at the front here on a separate sheet of parchment showing the acreage. Also has some lovely seals and then signatures down at the bottom as well. So now for something completely different. Leaving the 19th century behind, we chose part of the archive of Porrigal Moylan as an example of some of the photographic material we have in special collections and archives. So, Kerry native Porrigal Moylan is best known as an Irish language writer, poet, editor, and lexicographer. This archive consists of digital copies of original documents, which are available to consult in the university's digital library or in special collections and archives in the reading room. The collection contains drafts of some of O'Moylan's published works, consisting of his fiction, essays, articles, poetry, and talks, and also includes correspondence between O'Moylan and his publisher and others. It also contains 138 photographs of people, landscapes, seascapes, and buildings of the Blasket Islands and the Dingle Peninsula, County Kerry, as well as some later colour images of O'Moylan himself. So O'Moylan was born in Dunqueen in County Kerry into a literary family. His maternal grandfather was Tommaso Creebon, renowned author of Untalanach. In the 1950s, he was invited to write a series of talks about Kerry for Radio Éireann. This series was the basis for O'Moylan's first book, Nahard O'Huig, published in 1960. This was followed by his first novel, Breed Bon, published in 1968. On Bun Or and Derer Ivrica, an account of his time with An Garda Síochána, both followed in 1969. In 1982, he won the Oireachtas Award for his novel O'Huig. O'Moylan also worked on the Folklore Gael de Berla, completed in 1977, and was employed as an editor with Irish language publisher and Boom. The photographic collection consists of images of people and places of O'Moylan's home in West Kerry. This picture here is a image that was published in a short biography of his early years that O'Moylan wrote, and shows O'Moylan with his siblings, and that's in there in the tallest lad there in the back of the picture. So I'm just going to show you a few other images from the O'Moylan archive. So this is a lovely picture here of O'Moylan's grandfather, Tommaso Creebon. He lived from 1855 to 1937 and quite well known as a writer. And another writer here on the other side, Eilish Ní Húlabháin, who was the author of a series of letters published as Letters from the Great Blaskets in 1942. So most of the photographs are of people from the Blaskets or from around Dunqueen. This photograph here, this group photograph on the left, is just annotated on the back with the Blasket Islanders. But we don't actually know who the individuals are, but I'm sure there are people out there who do. And there's some lovely group shots in the collection, including this one here on the right of a group of young people. There are also some colour images in the collection, some slightly more modern images, including this one of farming and this lovely colour image of a traditional Nabo. The collection also includes published postcards published by Valentine and Son. Now these are stereotypical images of Ireland that were produced as souvenirs, but there's some lovely images in the collection. So what's next? So work is ongoing. The collections are being processed and being digitized on an ongoing basis. And there are a few more collections currently lined up for addition to the digital library. Just to mention a few, we have the Wardell Archive, which is another 19th century collection, a military archive, relating to the Boer Wars in South Africa, and this image here comes from that collection. And we also have the Marks of Sligo archive, which is another early 19th century archive belonging to How Peter Brown, the Marks of Sligo, who was a traveller and a bit of playboy, and it's a fascinating and very entertaining collection of his travels in Europe in the early 19th century. And also soon to be added is the Kensarwira Photographic Archive, which is a collection of photographs from Nigeria and Ireland relating to the Ogoni cause and part of the Kensarwira collection. And many, many more. So just to also say, if you're looking for more information on any of these collections or any of the collections held by Special Collections and Archive, you can find more information on our collections discovery portal by searching for any of the collections in library search. It'll bring you to this page, the collections discovery portal, where you can click onto any of the collections and download a PDF of the complete descriptive list. You can also find more information here on our LibGuide, which you can find in the A to Z of LibGuides on the website, or just by Googling Special Collections and Archives LibGuide. We bring you in here where you go into archival collections, you can find a short summary of all the collections, and again with a PDF to download with details of all the material. And just finally to say there, these are our contact details. If anyone would like any more information or would like to see any of the collections, they can contact us here at Special Collections and Archives in the JP2. We are also on social media, on Twitter, that's our Twitter handle. And we publish a monthly blog on our blog, MU Library Treasures, and the details are all there. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ciara. That was great. And on behalf of the digital team in the library, I just wanted to acknowledge with thanks the work of the archivists and the Special Collections team in Munich Library. We couldn't have done it without you, and it was really fascinating working through the collections. I think it's always great to learn about the people, the places and the events that feature in our collections. So we're looking forward to continuing to work with you on that. And for anyone interested in looking at the digital library itself, I've put the link in the chat, but it's at www.maynoothdigitalcollections.ie, and that's all one word. And you can follow the digital library on Twitter, now known as X, at NU Digital Lib. So at this stage now we can take some questions. So I'm just having a look in the chat here.